Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe below to get all of my new videos and hit the bell icon to make sure they hit your notifications as soon as you log into YouTube. Thanks. And on top of this, like all conspiracy theories, let me open with this. This is causing people to quote unquote ask questions. This is now, I guess, a forbidden phrase. You can't ask questions anymore. But this NBA gambling bust and this widespread gambling culture is now causing people, now more than ever, like sports fans, fan is short for fanatic. Fanatic is an insane person. Sports fans are crazy. That's why I love sports. That's why I love my sports teams. The Browns fans, Buckeyes fans are insane people. They're nuts, and I love them for being nuts. But for all of these rabid fan bases, particularly in college football, NBA basketball, NFL football, they are causing the fans to doing the ask questions thing, something that I personally have been putting off for a very long time. I am not conspiratorial when it comes to sports at all. And maybe to a fault at that point. Like, I've had many people friends of mine, family members of mine, that have said, oh, that referee in the Browns game was on the take. That referee in the Buckeyes game was on the take. That foul called on Donovan Mitchell, the point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, was, that was BS. He called that on purpose. I'm like, no, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And by the way, I root for conspiratorial fan bases. I love when fans get all up in a tizzy about stuff and they're like, oh my gosh, that ref is this. Like, I think it drives a lot of passion, a lot of intensity, a lot of whatever, from whatever the fan base is. Like, I love it. I love watching it. I have not participated in it. But now, in the wake of this scandal, I've now gone back and I'm starting to notice some things. I'm seeing it more now, especially when I look back in some of the earlier games this year in college football, for example. It's probably the sport I watch most of because it's on my Sabbath. And I look back at some of those games, and I look back at some of the NFL games and some of the things that I see on X, and I'm just like, whoa, like that doesn't seem right. Like that does not seem right at all. And I'm a big fan of boxing. I'm a big fan of UFC. And, boxing is so corrupt from so many different ways. It always has been, as well as Major League Baseball. But boxing, I think, is by far the most corrupt sport that we've seen. And we've already seen this in a couple of years with a couple massive fights. Like, Devin Haney's been at the center of this, a phenomenal boxer in the 140-pound weight class that is, gone crazy and done a bunch of stuff in a good way. But, people are saying that fight's rigged and that UFC fight is rigged. And it's like, But the scales, I think, are beginning to come off my eyes. And I'm starting to see a lot of things. Let's just name some examples. So I have a really good friend, Sam Vancia, who is a Georgia fan. He's a very, very big Georgia fan. He's from Georgia. He went to Georgia as his alma mater, and he's a big fan of Georgia football. And there was a game earlier this year. All my sports fans will remember this game. The Auburn-Georgia game that was played earlier this year. And Auburn's in the news now because they just fired their head coach at the time of this recording, Hugh Freeze. And Georgia's had many comeback from behind games and many this and many whatever. And I watched that game. I remember me and my dad never text about and we say like, oh, the officiating was bad, like bad call, good call, whatever. But I don't think I've ever had, in all of the sports-related conversations I've had with my dad, which have been thousands probably over the years, he has never texted me, that game was fixed, up until the Auburn-Georgia game this year. It was the worst officiating I have ever seen in a college football game, ever. But in a sports game generally, I'm going to put that out there, in a sports game generally, I have never seen that horrendous of an officiating crew. I believe the crew got fired after that game because it was so bad. It was awful. And when my dad texted me, he's like, they rigged that game. And I said, like, I agree they rigged that game. Someone was on the take I can't prove that, but you look at that game and you look at all of the stuff they missed. Like, that game might have cost Hugh Freeze his job. And now Auburn is out several tens of millions of dollars for hiring Hugh Freeze. Their donors are pissed. Everybody's, and it's, you look at the gambling odds and the markets and everything like that, and you look at, again, I mentioned some of this earlier, the crazy amount of extra points being missed in the NFL, when we have the best kickers we have ever seen, the best athletes we have ever seen in pro sports, the number of field goals that are being missed, chip shot field goals, just crazy officiating on every single level, all of the new rules that we have, like all the targeting stuff in college football, and all of the wild inconsistencies of not having a unified officiating crew on every level of sports, NBA basketball, college football, MLB baseball, all these sorts of things. Wild levels of load management in NBA. This is an NBA problem especially, which started with Kawhi Leonard probably about 10 years ago at this point. The infusion of gambling, of fantasy football, everything. Like, this is the web of this. I feel like the guy in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when he tests the red string everywhere. I've never seen the show, but he has the meme where he's going like this. And like, the web is so endless for corruption to seek in, especially now that we have a wide reason to believe that coaches are involved and players are involved, which has created a massive incentive with all of this web of conspiracy and corruption and this and that and whatever, for bad actors to come in all forms, whether it be sports ownership, sports leadership, players, gambling companies, individual people that are outside of the sports system to rig games and to set markets and everything else like this. The level of corruption that is allowed and the holes in the boat of the non-compromised nature of the sports landscape, it's outrageous at this point. I could go on for hours about this, of examples, of listings, of all these things. And I think the thing that's really taken this into overdrive, and the thing that's really blown out of the water, is now we have not only said you can set the line on a team, on a record for the year, on what happens in a certain game, for win totals, whatever. We have now boiled it down to individual players and their stats. This is the Terry Rozier thing. So, like, for example, Arch Manning, I'm recording this from live in Austin, Texas. Arch Manning got a crazy NIL deal, I believe $4 million a year, for being a mid player. And I'm not even trying to take a shot at Arch. I think Arch is he's a Manning. He's going to have really great coaching. He's probably going to get better. But Arch Manning has not had a good year. Heisman front runner, start of the year, national championship favorite, off a cliff by the end of the year. And he gets this crazy NIL deal for being kind of a mid player. And all of these other, like all of the Heisman favorites that are the betting odds for the Heisman, the over-under on win totals in teams like Texas and Penn State, and all these things. Like, this is madness. It's madness. It's crazy that we have allowed this to happen. We are empowering all of the wrong people to make all of the wrong decisions, and we are taking it off of the field and putting it on the betting markets. We are putting the power of sports into the hands of the gambling companies. And we are incentivizing people to cheat. I think that's what this is. We are incentivizing people to cheat. And this is horrific for sports, for pro sports, for college sports, for coaches, for players, for young people. For fans. It is a bad look for everybody. For everybody. And the bottom line of all this, I do not know, like most of these things, if the Auburn-Georgia game was rigged, for example, if the New York Jets are tanking specifically and they're trying to lose games to throw off betting markets. I don't know if that is happening. I can't prove it, but these stories are going to keep circulating as the other shoe and the other shoe and the other shoe and all of the other shoes start to drop around these gambling scandals. This is not going to get quieter. This is going to get louder, and it's going to come out in NFL football. It already has with the Calvin Ridley thing. It has already come out in NFL football. It has already come out in college football. It has already come out in pro basketball. And by the way, the betting market around March Madness in college basketball is massive. It is massive. You don't think there's any opportunity there for corruption, for throwing games, for elevation of players, for coaches to optimize for a certain less amount of wins? Like, you got to be nuts to not think that after this. And so when the dust settles around this, there needs to be a massive crackdown. And by the way, anti-crackdown from the federal government especially. But there needs to be a massive crackdown from the federal government and the institutions that make up all of these things: Major League Baseball, pro football, pro basketball, the NCAA, the college football playoff, whatever. This needs to be shaken out. And we as the fans, I hope you can sense my passion in this. Like, I'm very passionate about this issue. The fans need to speak up. We need to demand accountability to make sure that these malicious actors are rooted out and thrown into prison. Because we cannot lose sports. We can't lose sports. We cannot. It is too important to our culture. It's too important to me to lose this and to have sports go the ways of all of these wild, other organizations. It's too important, and we need to, are sports rigged? I don't know, but we need to stop it. We need to stop it, and fans need to lead the charge in speaking up against the corruption, which is way too common among all sports.